Let's move on to Nebraska football. Not a ton of news going on right now. EJ Barthel did sign a 2-year contract extension to remain with Nebraska football over the next 2 seasons. I know his name was slightly attached to that Texas job. I don't I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I think there was always the hope and intention that he would remain, within the role. To be very honest with you, I know that they've liked the work he's done, and they've liked the recruiting that he's done. With his $450,000 salary, now the lowest paid guy on the staff are Terry Braden and Dikeel Shorts. They're both making 400,000. Previous to this, Dvorak and Barthel had made 293,500. So now the pool for assistants goes up, and it's now 7.2 million is what they are making, and that includes Marcus Satterfield's 1.4 million that he's making as a tight ends coach. People have asked me, is Marcus Satterfield going to take a pay cut? And I'm like, well, I don't know why he would. He signed a 3-year contract, and that third year is for 1.4 million. So I don't know why he would take less money. No, I think he's going to get paid out what he's going to get paid out, and he's going to get paid to coach the tight ends and also be a mind in that room. But 7.2 million is what it looks like will be the assistant coach pay. And then if you include a stay bonus that Matt Rhule is about to get on March 1st of 2025, I think that's on when it's going to be. He'll get 8.5 million this year. So the salary pool is going to go up to 15.7 for next season, which I think is pretty notable and impressive. So we will and then if you add in Phil Snow and Phil Simpson, I don't know that they're technically counted among the 10 coaches, but that's even more money that'll be put into the system. So they're doing pretty well. They're increasing their salary pool. I will have a story on Sunday about that. Back to Matt Rhule. He had an interview with Josh Pate this week. Rhule's been out and about. He did the speech down for the Broyles Award down in Arkansas. So he doesn't have he's a pretty raspy voice for his hour with Josh Pate, who is a college football broadcaster and interviewer. Does a nice job. I've liked Pate's interviews and the way that he looks at teams. One of the questions that Pate asked Matt Rhule is just in wake of the Big Ten and the SEC meeting today, somewhere, I think Nashville or somewhere, about potentially getting 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff and thereby expanding the college football playoff. Is the direction the sport is going in ultimately something even more exclusive than the situation we have now? And one of the things that Matt Rhule brought up is the potential of a 40 or 50 team super league. And he said, eventually it could be 40 or 50 teams that really care. I think what he was meaning by that was not moral caring, but financial commitment, the ability to get this thing done. And I'm curious, and I want to pop this question back to you. Does such a thing, is it feasible? We've circled around this for like 5 years now. Is it feasible? And is it a system that Nebraska football could actually thrive
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like we have been talking about it for a while. Two things that come to mind for me that maybe suggest that it could be more feasible. One would be how do you shake out the Title IX stuff? And that remains in limbo. A lot of that's changing, or the interpretation of that, depending on which administration's in power nationally. So, like, would a super league in that situation be part of a breakaway? Like I think that's what it comes down to for me is like, is this a situation where football breaks off from the NCAA and becomes its own thing? And if
right?
it does that change the conversation with Title IX? And I think even more than that, we've seen even in just this last year or two, the effects of these radical decisions being made specifically for football have brought all these other sports along for the ride. So conference realignment makes some degree of sense with football to act as sort of a mini NFL. It makes no sense for basketball, for volleyball, for baseball. And so maybe there's more of a willingness among some of these schools that previously would say, no, we want to hang on the football side. Hey, they're realizing the financial commitment that it's going to take to compete at the top level. Maybe now they're more willing to say, okay, we concede the football piece, or at least at the top level, And maybe it means they can return to something more regional geographically when it comes to other sports. And you're not seeing, Stanford playing in the ACC and some of these just ridiculous geographical situations. So maybe the reality that we've seen play out now, the schools have felt that travel, the cost of that travel financially and otherwise. Maybe there's more willingness to revisit that situation and to truly say the decisions that we make for football should be just for football and everything else can set aside. I get the sense that there's more willingness from an administration level than there was previously. What do you think?
Well, there might be. I mean, I think the point that you're making is good about regional sports. I don't know why, um, you would untether it from the leagues. I don't know why Nebraska would have to be in the Big Ten anymore. I'm not sure. I think Nebraska very much wants to be in the Big Ten for academic reasons too. And so, like, what's the point of the leagues if they jettison their primary moneymaker, which is football? I don't know. Like, I think it would be more challenging in some ways if you create sort of this college football super league that's untethered from the leagues. I don't think all 18 teams from the Big Ten would be in it. I don't think. Maybe they would. I don't know. Like, can you make the argument that, well, it's only going to be a 40 team league, which is whatever you want to, eight divisions of five each, right? So you put four divisions of five on one side and four divisions of five on the other side, and you create an AFC and an NFC, but you call it whatever you want to call it. The NFC is the Northern Football Conference, and the SFC is the Southern Football Conference. Is that how you want to lay it out? Well, why would it automatically be that the 18 teams from the Big Ten get it? I mean, we've been to Maryland.
Right.
Is the commitment level I'm not trying to knock Maryland really, but is the commitment level at Maryland equal to Boise State? I don't think so. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't Financially, Maryland makes more money because they're in the Big Ten, but I don't know that they care more or have a care factor that's as great as what they're doing at Boise or what they're. I mean, Colorado State has a new stadium, so like I don't know. So it's tricky because I think it's the thing that everybody brings up, and the people who bring it up assume that they're in. I think Nebraska would be in a 40 team league. I'd probably be in a 32 team league. I think in some ways Nebraska would be the Green Bay Packers of such a league. Green Bay is in one of the smaller markets in the NFL, but they've been able to thrive and persist because of the passion of the community and the commitment of ownership in Green Bay to continue to build great teams. And it's because they have a sort of public ownership, and the GM sort of answers to this, not a vox populi, but a larger group of people. And I feel like Nebraska football fits into that. That like it by community prevailing, you can put a team like Nebraska in that. But does Kansas make it? Does Purdue make it? And
Northwestern?
no, yeah, Northwestern doesn't make it. I'm
I
not
don't
even
think so.
sure North. And what's funny is that Northwestern's building a new football stadium. I feel a little bit for Northwestern in the sense that, you know, I'm not sure they know how to resolve the transfer portal issue. I think they can compete in NIL. It's the portal. It's very hard for Northwestern to compete in the portal era because almost anybody who goes to Northwestern can transfer anywhere because of the academic standards at Northwestern. Not everybody can transfer in.
Right.
And so, like a kid that goes to a Missouri Valley school, for example, SDSU or USD, and they're great schools, to be clear. But like Northwestern is like the third or fourth hardest school academically among the power schools. Stanford's probably number one. Northwestern and Vanderbilt are up there. Cal, a few others. And so like they can't get every player because some of the players can't, their grades don't or whatever won't translate over. So that would be interesting to me, like again, what Big Ten schools don't make the cut? We can't assume all 18 are going to go. And would Nebraska thrive? Do you think Nebraska thrives in a super league strata?
Uh, I don't I don't know that it's all that different than what their situation is right now. Like I think, the group that they're struggling to break into is the top group. And so if that was all that there was, Nebraska's had enough hard enough time over the years winning the games that they're supposed to win, let alone making that big jump. Now, like I think it's such an interesting conversation with Nebraska because like all the ancillary stuff they nail. The fan support, they nail. The financial resources, they're right up there. Facilities, they're right up there. Academics, they're right up there. Um, Geography, I suppose, continues to be a thing, especially in modern, like it doesn't feel like it was a thing 20 years ago. People had no problem coming to Nebraska.
I don't think it's a thing.
But I mean, it's kind of a thing. Like, people want to play where it's warm and whatever.
Do they? I
I
mean,
think
I'm
so.
not saying they don't, Evan. Offensive linemen, I think, largely do. Don't mind playing in warmer weather, but Michigan and Ohio State, the weather is not.
No, I agree.
It's pretty cold there. And Penn State is, we've been there. I mean, I'm pretty confident the weather at Penn State's worse on an annual basis than it is. Like
I agree. But the talent bases there are
it
better
is.
than
That's
what
true.
Nebraska
That's
has.
true. I agree with that.
That's part of it.
Um,
And the longer Nebraska goes without winning, the the less that tradition continues to mean to the current generation. So like it feels continues to feel to me like you just if you're Nebraska, man, you just need one great year to get the thing going. Like get the momentum going. Like we've been talking about it for a long time. They haven't been able to do it. But you show some signs of winning, and with all the other stuff that Nebraska brings to the table, like I think they could. They have the potential to, but they haven't showed it. So I don't know if that league were to start right now, I think they'd finish, bottom third somewhere. Maybe that changes soon. Maybe Dylan Raiola and Matt Rule and his reworked staff and this thing pops. But that's where I put them right now. So I don't know that the feeling of accomplishment or excitement for what they're doing would change all that much in that new league based, compared to what it is right now. That's just my thought.
yeah, I think people are getting fatigued by all the changes. So if a Super League ever came along, that would have to be about the last thing. The one thing that a Super League could do is they could set their own rules. And in setting their own rules, I think that would probably help to standardize things a little bit. And they'd create, I don't know, probably union contracts and stuff like that. They would standardize things in a way that I think was probably more stabilizing to the sport. I think the instability of the sport right now, while making for perfectly good content for the Omaha World-Herald, is also difficult for the coaches and the staff and all that to keep track of. So we'll keep watching that. Right now they're in winter workouts. Spring football is still a month away, guys. It's probably March 25th, 26th is I think when Nebraska's kicking off spring practice. We'll talk to them probably before that. They'll have a pro day around then, but it's going to be a pretty quiet late February, early March in Husker footballville unless something changes that we're just not aware of. I think it's going to be a pretty quiet time, and it's a little bit more like it used to be. Nebraska used to start spring football pretty early, March 8th, March 9th. People might recall that COVID was right around here 5 years ago, March 9th, I think, somewhere in there, March 10th, if I
Yeah.
recall. And that remember they had the pro day, and Khalil and Carlos Davis were talking, and the whole world basically shut down that day, the day of the pro day.
Yep,
Um,
that's right.
and that was a Thursday, I think March 9th or something like that. So they're not starting all that stuff, I think, until about 2 or 3 weeks from now, after that, in late March.